graduate, Berger. And now, here's your host, Greg Shapiro. Well, hello. It's me. This is my laptop for this week. And hi, I'm Greg Shapiro, the American Netherlander, giving the EU the respect they deserve by making fun of the EU just like anyone else. Next up, who's going to be the next European Commission president? But first, the news. Last Sunday was election day for the majority of the EU as well as in the Ukraine. The election results show that about half the Ukraine voted to join Europe, and with the popularity of the far-right parties in the EU, about half of Europe voted to join Russia. There we go. Oh, great. And then Ukraine and Europe. Oh, we're good. And then Russia. Oh, thank you. Now we're caught up to speed. Let's keep going, shall we? The surprise news in the Netherlands was that Geert Wilders, the anti-EU Freedom Party, did much worse than expected in election results, while the pro-Europe D66 did much better than expected. D66 claimed to have set the tone for the entire EU election, since the D stands for democracy and the 66 stands for the amount of eligible voters, the percentage of eligible voters who didn't bother showing up in the Netherlands on election day. Now, some of the biggest support for anti-immigrant parties came from rural areas of Europe, such as farms in France. According to farmers, suddenly, we don't like immigrants. We want to pick our own lettuce. In business news, good news. The UK is to ease limits on shale gas extraction. Tune in for tomorrow's special report. Earthquakes hit UK. Officials say they have no idea why. In a victory for online privacy last week, restrictions were placed on spying by the NSA, as well as Facebook putting restrictions on their sharing function. Instead, now all information will be sent directly to hackers in the Chinese army. For the first time since the banking crisis in 2008, a major bank, Credit Suisse, has entered a guilty plea for financial wrongdoing. Although the penalty will be negligible, the decision will be published in a paper to be available for all Europeans, many of whom replied, "Oh, good. I'll have plenty of time to read that since I still can't find a job." And now sports. In the wake of Madrid's Champions League victory last Saturday, Spanish football fans received continued criticism for some racist behavior, such as last month, the throwing of a banana at Brazilian player Dani Alves. Alves responded by eating the banana in front of fans. Meanwhile, if the same thing would happen in, say, the NBA to LeBron James, he'd probably respond by eating the fan in front of the fans with fava beans and a nice Chianti. Okay, you like that one? All right, well, he's a creepy guy with that mask. Weird. Folks, this week we have a very special guest in the studio, and his name is Berger. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Thanks for being with us. We were doing a very nice pre-interview before the show.
We were, yeah.
And, but yeah, I wanted to lead us through, well, first tell us a little bit about yourself. You studied European studies?
I did. I studied European studies here in Amsterdam, which is the reason why... At the UvA.
Yeah.
Which is why I moved to Amsterdam and then proceeded on doing absolutely nothing.
Okay.
With those 7 years of college.
Well, you're also a comedian.
Yes.
You can get your weekly column on Q Music.
Right.
You've written a song now for the World Cup.
Yes, and it's doing well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
on the iTunes chart.
The iTunes. Well, it was briefly on 8, but they sort of updated every nanosecond. So I think we're back to 138.
Okay.
Right now, but still, it's not something that
number 8 on the iTunes list. You can say that.
That's we were above Michael Jackson, actually.
Wow.
Who can say that?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Jeez. I mean, anyone who's
anyone who's ever been above Michael Jackson.
Anyway, but okay, without doing Michael Jackson jokes. Okay, just one. No, that'll be after the show. Let's talk about your European studies background. You said you moved to Amsterdam to study here, but I mean you were born in the Netherlands. You lived in Belgium.
In Belgium, yeah.
Just north of Antwerp, you said.
Yes.
And then so you grew up there, but then moved back here to study. So that gives you an interesting European perspective.
Well, it does in two respects. First of all, growing up in between two cultures, as they say, it did make me more sort of responsive to all the crazy stuff and all the bullshit that people say about their nation and their national sense and their national values, because it's you notice that it's all sort of imaginary. It's not really there. I've heard the same joke told as a Dutch joke and a Belgian joke.
Oh, right.
With the same punchline.
You just switch the words.
You just switch the word. And that was one of the things that made me go, you know what? We might not be so different. We're all idiots, apparently.
Wow. I want to hear that joke. I mean, it's probably in Vlaams or, well, that'll be on. You can find that after.
Yeah.
But we'll get back to that. Hold on. Let's take a look at the election billboard. If we can. There we go. Now, this is what most people think of when they are, Dutch people at least, or whatever. If you're voting, if you have been voting, this is the image people have, which... It's 19 different parties. It's very hilarious to me, but it does not have a lot to do with the actual power structure in Europe. Now, let's take a look at the European Parliament seats. This is the big building in Brussels, at least, when they're not in Strasbourg. And the big question is this week, based on the results and the way they're going to divide up this. Seating chart, it looks like this, right? This is, let's see if we can bring up the next slide. Sorry, who's going to replace this man? That's the big question. And it will be determined by the breakdown of the European Parliament and the coalitions, which look something like that. So, Ado.
Yeah.
What do you know about, I mean, first of all, what do you think of Barroso? Has he done all he could do as Commission president?
Well, he's been good looking and looking sharp, and he's done exactly what he should. Yeah, and he's from Portugal, right? Which means they tend to get people from smaller countries to do these very big jobs so that no one gets offended. Right. And he made sure he didn't offend anybody, and so he was. But he was one of the more influential commission presidents, but it's mostly because his position has gotten more interesting.
You mean more powerful?
Yeah.
Well, then let's get right to it. I mean, who will replace Barroso in your mind? We've got two major candidates.
Yeah, we've got two major candidates. We've got Juncker, the Luxembourger.
A small country.
A small country. And especially people from Luxembourg get all these high posts because... What Switzerland is to money, Luxembourg is to people. Really? If you want someone who's innocuous and no one really is against or for, you can always get a Luxembourger. If he gets the position, he will be the third Luxembourger to become a commission president. Actually,
that's just weird.
Yeah. There's a better...
How can we have that? This is okay. So here you go with the two guys. That's Juncker with the Schulz. Martin Schulz with the beard, and he is the current president of the European Parliament for the Socialists and Democrats, and the EPP, European People's Party, is basically what the Christian Democrat Party. That's Juncker. So no beard. That is the former head of Luxembourg, the front runner to be the new EU Commission president, and also he was the former head of the Eurogroup. Yeah. So a champion of austerity in European budgets. So assuming that Juncker is that's Schulz, exactly. Okay, how about this? Let's talk about Schulz.
Yeah. Okay.
Schulz is to me the more interesting fellow. So, I mean, what are the chances that Schulz might actually be the new Commission president, and how would he do?
It all depends on whether Angela Merkel says yes or no, because they're both German and they're from opposing parties. And as I said, getting someone from either Germany, France, or Great Britain into one of these high positions doesn't really happen that much.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's easier to get someone like Juncker to do the heavy lifting austerity work for you than getting a social democrat in that position and then having to deal with all the criticism of him being German and therefore...
Well, let's just back up a step. And for a lot of people, including a lot of like supposedly knowledgeable people that I've talked to, we don't know how the process works. Now, the theme of the elections this time it's different. So this is the first time that the European Parliament will have a more direct... this is the first time that they've nominated their own candidates. But anyway, to talk a bit more about predictions of how to do that, we'll be right back. Is that okay? We're going to go to a quick break, play that thing, and we'll be right back. Yeah.
I'm Nate from the What's Up Amsterdam TV show on Salto 1. Join us every Monday at 6 p.m. where we're going to talk to the city's best comedians, musicians, bloggers, restaurateurs, about all the great stuff that makes Amsterdam awesome. So join me, Nate Titer, every Monday night at 6 p.m. on Salto 1 for What's Up Amsterdam TV. What's Up Amsterdam? Anything good is right here. Ah, shit, my burgers!
And we're back. So yes, as we were talking about Martin Schulz here, indeed, his chances of being the next EU Commission president might be low. He's maybe a little too German and maybe too socialist, but he's also the head. He's still like the president of the European Parliament and the head of this coalition. So Ado, you were talking about how this is the first time in EU history, in EU politics, where the parliament coalitions get to front their own candidates. Like,
I mean, the rules, the official rules have sort of stayed the same, namely that the commission puts forward a candidate and the parliament has to say yes or no.
Right.
This is the first time that the coalitions have put forward their own candidates. So it does mean that Europe is starting to look slightly more like a regular country.
Yeah, or like they do in the Netherlands, for example.
Exactly.
But meanwhile, you've basically got Juncker from Luxembourg who is saying, wow, I won, didn't I?
Yeah.
And sort of forcing this de facto vote for him. But the guy in the middle, don't forget, is from this. You get the one big one here and the one big one over there, and in the middle you've got the ALDE, Alliance of Liberals and Democrats. Who's the head there? It's
Guy Verhofstadt.
Verhofstadt.
The Belgian guy, and whereas Juncker is trying to play it off as, okay, so the new rule is the biggest party gets to deliver the European Commission president, which is not the case, but he's sort of spinning that story.
Right.
And Verhofstadt, who has probably the smallest chance of becoming Commission president, is going with a very smart tactic. He's saying, no, you don't actually have the biggest party. Because as he says, your coalition has the conservative parties, which means that Berlusconi's party is in there, and the right-wing nutter Viktor Orban's party is in there from Hungary. These guys are never going to listen to you.
So,
which is a very he's one of the great original European spin doctors. Guy Verhofstadt. That's a very smart angle.
It's I mean, is it just possible? Is it conceivable that maybe you would have like Verhofstadt in the middle, who forms an alliance with Schulz, only to say we're not going to let the biggest party have their way. Maybe they'll form a new super coalition, and then instead of giving the German maybe unelectable Schulz as commission president, they would go with Verhofstadt, whose credentials are once being the prime minister of Belgium, I believe. It could happen, right?
That could happen, especially because the socialists, of course, want less austerity in Europe. The powers that be want Juncker to go on with pushing the 3% norm. So, and Verhofstadt is really, he's not that left or right, so they could forge an alliance, and it might even, you never know, it might even be Verhofstadt coming out. It might even be a completely different guy, since let's not forget, the Commission gets to put a candidate forward. Officially.
Exactly. So yes, it's the first time that the Parliament has had this much power, but it might turn out it's still there are a lot of steps to go.
Yeah.
Hold on, we're gonna have final thoughts and comments in just a moment, but first, just take a look at this. We're back in the studio with Ado Berger and talking about the influence of these right-wing politics and UKIP, Farage as well as Le Pen did pretty well, and a lot of the one-off and/or nutters did pretty well.
Yeah.
What do we make of that?
Well, on the one, it's different. On the one hand, in the media, it's all like, wow, they've elected this giant wave of nutcases.
Yeah.
On the other hand, let's not forget that every country, and Holland is not an exception, has their own set of crazy people in politics.
Right.
But of course, if you put them all together, or if you send one from each country to Europe, then it becomes it's like the album cover for Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Right.
There's this vast array of we've got the granddaughter of Mussolini.
Really?
We've got a Polish guy who says that evolutionary women are less smart than men.
Okay. Sure, there's room for everyone.
Yeah,
it's like, Sgt. Pepper's like, is that Charles Manson out there? How did it, There's a guy in Germany, I believe, who calls himself a neo-fascist. Yeah. From Germany. Like, there's room for everyone in the European Parliament.
Yeah. And the French Front National, Marine Le Pen, daughter of Jean-Marie Le Pen, has been trying really hard to make the party seem semi-normal again.
Yes.
Luckily, her father, a couple of weeks ago, said that Ebola would be a good solution for immigration. And then afterwards, he said, no, he was just making a demographical observation.
Oh.
That's what it is, people. It's a demographical observation.
Well, that same thing is happening in the UK, isn't it? Where you've got Farage, who's been pretty close to sticking with the script, but then you get another one of the guys who might be taken, or women, who are taking a seat in the European Parliament, and they will come out and say something much like the Spanish football fans. And then, of course, you get the covering of it. No, what my client meant to say was...
there's always a different explanation.
Well, so, I mean, it is entertaining, at least. I think it's worth watching some more. But anyway, how about this? Final thoughts. We got to wrap up. What are you working on? Do you want to... where can we see you next?
Specifically next Friday the 6th in Utrecht in het Werftheater. And regularly in Boom, Chicago,
of course,
during the summer. And also I've got my own English show with lots of stuff about Europe and disgruntled voters.
And what's the name of the show?
It's Everybody Has One. Everybody
Has One. Yes, exactly. I can call you a finalist of the Lights Cabaret Festival in 2012. So very lucky to have Ado Berger here on the show. Thank you very much, sir. And thank you to Broadcast Amsterdam. And it's Greg Shapiro saying tot volgende week.